Alrighty, tonight we're going to have a go at Milk Kefir. Milk Kefir is another fermented food. I highly recommend it to pretty well everybody. If you're specifically lactose intolerant or have an allergic reaction to milk, proceed only with caution. I will definitely say that. I tend to think that it could be tried for those who are lactose intolerant, simply for the reason that the bacteria and such that breed in the milk kefir actually feed on the sugars in milk, which is, milk is very high in lactose, and the lactase in the enzymes and the bacteria and such in the milk will actually break it down and actually make it available for your body. But if anyone is unsure, always proceed with a great deal of caution, and even ask your healthcare professional if you're going ahead. But otherwise, I highly recommend it. Now, some other things I can say about milk kefir. It is said to have 30 plus different types of bacteria, probiotic bacteria in it. So I've seen some probiotic tablets and stuff, which I don't say are bad, but they might have at the best something like 7 different types of probiotics on the very good varieties. People, I'll get yogurt from down at the shop, it's got bacteria in it, which is good for you. Well, that's true, and some of it's quite often dead before you get to it. But this is all live and has been said to have 30 plus different types of bacteria. So it's an excellent probiotic to put in your body. Okay, now if you want to know when it's ready, under normal average daily temperatures, if you want a runny kefir, like a very liquidy one, go about 12 hours overnight. If you want a more solid, not that it gets very solid, milk kefir, it's about 24 hours. If you go longer, it starts turning the cheese, and then you'll have clear liquid down the bottom here and like a cottage cheese up the top, which you can actually turn into cheesecake later on if you wish. My son has done that a couple of times. Okay. Alright, let's have a go. Now it's just got an ordinary bit of cloth from a sheet on top with a rubber band. This is about a litre container. I use some of these containers occasionally for making sauerkraut. If you want to watch that video, you can make beet kvass. There's another video I've made. I've made a couple now on fermented foods. Now if you look inside there, you can see that watery stuff. Well, that's whey, and those little lumps in there are what they call kefir grains. Now they all say on other videos that's strange because they're not grains, they're not like grains of sand, but they're granular in their looks. Okay, so what I do, this is the way I do it. I get a plastic colander, don't use steel. Some say it's okay to use stainless steel, and it probably is, but I would still prefer to use all plastic or glass in the process. Okay, now when you make it, so you can actually see I've used raw milk, and you can see the cream floating on top there. That's just excellent for you. Nothing wrong with that at all. Typically the grains will tend to float to the top, so just for demonstration I'll dig it out. Okay, and this is just my way of doing it. It's not specifically right or wrong. Now what's left pretty well won't have any kefir grains left in there. The whey I often take off and then use it in beet kvass to inoculate it. A lot of people got a lot of anti-dairy programming in them. I think that's a shame. I think there's a lot of benefits in dairy products. Okay, so once I've got it in there, all I do is just give it a shake, and you'll see all the grains come to the surface. Okay, there you go. And that's what they look like. Nice, healthy, sort of bulbous grains there. Sometimes you'll get like lots of little bits of grain, and sometimes you'll get big blobs like this. If you just got one big blob, and you know that's all you've really got in there, you can actually just come along with a plastic spoon and scoop him out, put him, say, in a cup, like that, and then just tip the rest into another container, which is what I'm going to do. Now, if your kefir grains are very healthy, they should nearly double in about 7 days. So if you've got this much of kefir grains today, in 7 days you'll have twice that much. And now that is only under good normal temperatures. If it starts getting very hot, quite warm days, you're getting up to the high 30s and 40s, you're going to have to start putting your kefir grain into cooler areas. If it starts getting quite cold, like recently, we've had temperatures down to about 3 degrees Celsius. It actually affects it such that it slows it right down. And what might take you normally 24 hours will actually then take you 48 hours. It's slowed right down. Remember, we have living organisms, a little colony of all this bacteria living in symbiosis. Okay, so just remember the temperature factor. If it starts getting hot, cool it down. If it starts getting cool, start warming them up. Or make a double batch. Let it go 24 hours over each time. Okay, now what I do, I'm going to do it slightly different just to show different people, different processes, and they're all okay. What I've basically done, I've taken most of the kefir grains out there. There could be a couple in there. Now, kefir grains are not poisonous in any way. You can eat them straight. I don't find it very interesting, of course, but you can. So if there's any kefir grains in there, it doesn't matter. Now, also, if I have any kefir grains over, like I've just got too many now, and the process is happening too fast. What normally would take 24 hours is now taking 12 hours. I've got way too many grains in there. Well, I just throw some grains into this batch and blend them up. It will make it look a little bit stringy, maybe even whatnot, but it's not a problem. It just means you're having a very strong dose of probiotics. It is said by some that 1 spoonful of milk kefir is equivalent of one of the best probiotic tablets you can pretty well get on the market. Some might argue that one, and you're entitled to, but others have said that, who are supposed to be fairly experts at the process. Okay, so I just scrape it out like that. So sometimes you can just scoop it out of your bowl, put your kefir grains aside, tip it all into here, and away you go. My son, he tips it into the colander and then gets a little spatula and just moves it around until, very gently, until all of the kefir and grains are separated. Okay. Alright. Now, you just clean that off. Okay. You can use this bottle over and over and over again. You don't need to keep washing it. If you see something suspicious forming around the top or anything like that, well, fair enough, go and clean it. But the bacteria that lives all around the edge of this bottle and on the top and down the bottom, it's going to keep the bad bacteria out. It rules, it dominates. It's fighting fire with fire. And I believe that's a principle that can be used in medicine these days. Use bacteria against bacteria. And it could be a real boon for the industry. So once you've separated it, you just tip them back in, if that's what you want to do. And then add some milk. Now, in regards to milk, if it's pasteurised, homogenised, and obliterised, as you buy in the supermarkets, it's a very bad idea. Don't use it if you can help it. The next of the bad would be pasteurised but not homogenised from the supermarket. Then the next better thing from there would be organic pasteurised, but not homogenised. But the next thing from up there is organic milk, full cream, pasteurised, and not homogenised. But the very best you can use for milk kefir is milk straight from the cow, raw. Okay. Now alright, I bought this milk about a week ago, and it sat in my fridge and I forgot to freeze it. If you're going to store it for a long time, just freeze it. Now, let's say I forgot. Oh no, I've left it in the whole fridge for a week and it's starting to separate. And here's the whey at the bottom here and it's starting to curdle on top. You can still use it. Perfect. The only difference is it's a little stronger. All that's happened is the bacteria in the raw milk, I'm not talking about pasteurised and homogenised milk now, straight raw milk from the cow, left in the fridge for a week, kept cold, not allowed to warm up, which is very important, it will actually slowly break. And actually, the bacteria and the enzymes and such that actually live live in the milk are actually turning it into a kefir. And you can still drink it quite often. I wouldn't go much longer. But yeah, you can still see a bit of cream still sitting on top there. Okay, so just give that a bit of a shake. And pour it in. So you just make about as much as you'll suit. If you're just having 1 cup a day, well, don't have a big bottle. If you're going to make several cups like I do, I make 4 cups every night. This is about how much a cup I would take, which is probably about 3/4 of a litre. Okay. Now all you do, now that I've done that, that's ready for tomorrow. So I'll just put that aside. If it's a cold night, I'll put it in a warm area. If it's a warm night, I'll try and put it in a cool area. If you have to, even put it in the fridge if it's going too fast because it's too hot. Now, just of interest, this is my son's milk kefir he makes every day. He has a cup similar to one of these every day of kefir. He has it just raw, nothing added to it, nothing mixed. And you think, oh, that's a lot more, but there's actually quite a lot of kefir grains hiding inside there. Okay, so if you're just going to make a cup for yourself every night, something like this is just fantastic. And you can see just the cloth, and you don't need to wash it all the time and everything. It just looks after itself because the bacteria does its job, just like flora does in your body. Okay, I'll just put that aside. Okay, now at this stage, it's fine. You can drink it, eat it. It's like a thick yogurty stuff. You can see different stuff floating around in there. It's all just fine. Now, what if you want to do something different with this? I don't really like the taste of kefir, you say. Okay, that's easy to fix. Now, I like to make superfood into super awesome food, is one of the common terms these days. Everything's awesome. So, what you can do is you can get bananas and blend them in. You can get other fruit, but bananas work just great. For about this much, you'd probably want 2 bananas. Okay. And all right. So we'll just go from there. So you just might want some kefir grains. Okay, so there we go. Example A. Now, all right, what if you want to do something different? Well, this is some magnesium powder. You could use tablets and capsules, break it up or something. I'll put in about a good teaspoon of magnesium in there. Magnesium and calcium are great together. And alright, well, what if you wanted to get more different? Well, use some cinnamon. Put some cinnamon in there. You could use cinnamon and turmeric, or just turmeric. You can use all sorts of things. Just be imaginative. Don't get too worried. and we can blend that up. Okay, so you just break your banana up, chuck him in. Okay. Now we don't waste these banana skins. We've got a couple of girls here that just love them. They call out, oh, every time they smell the banana skins. Gotta have them. They're really ravenous for guinea pigs. Okay, so you just get a stick blender. See, even the stick blender's happy. Now, just a word of thought. If you put a whole heap of kefir grains in there, it'll try and pull it up and through those holes, and you'll have big lumps of kefir grain hanging out around the corners there. You just pull them out again and shove them in until you blended it. Okay, there we are. That's a banana and cinnamon smoothie with magnesium. That is an excellent drink. Alright, what if you want to go further now? What if you want to go further? Well, this is what I do. If you may see in one of my other videos, if you subscribe to my channel, that I teach you how to render lard, which is pig fat. I'm a firm believer in having a lot of fat in your diet. It's not fat that's the problem. It's not salt that's the problem. It's the sugar. Alright, and this is why milk kefir is very good. Okay? Because the sugar that's naturally found in the milk is getting broken down by the bacteria in there. It's feeding on it, converting it. Alright, so I put a big blob of lard in. Then I put a good splash of olive oil in. So what am I doing? I'm turning this into what I would describe as a ketogenic smoothie. Okay. Now you can put coconut oil in, whatever, palm oil in. That are very good oils for you, especially if you got your gallbladder removed. Because you don't need much of your body's resources, like the bile from your gallbladder, to break down coconut oil. So all you do is whip that in, blend it in. And there you are. Now I don't pour out whole cups when I make 4 cups. That could have been a bit deceiving before, but I wasn't trying to deceive anybody. Alright, let's just shove some back in that one. Now, they are ready to drink. As they are. No worries at all. One of the things I do now, and it's my own personal choice, is I will put these in the fridge and leave them overnight because they actually strengthen in flavour. And sometimes I've even left them for something like 24 hours. I've left them even 48 hours in the fridge. If you leave them too long, they actually convert. They're doing what the bacteria does. And it sort of mushrooms up. It looks a bit like cauliflower on top. And eventually you end up with, way down below, even if you can't see it, it's there. And then you end up with this thick frothiness on top. Now, I really quite enjoy it like that, but it's quite strong. It's something you could experiment if you wish. And if you don't quite like the whey straight, well, you just mix it in and away you go. You'll see it puff up towards the top, and then you get your spoon in, stir it up, and all the air bubbles just collapse down. and then you got to drink again. I quite enjoy those. But now it's ready to drink.